I used to live right at 106 between Manhattan and Columbus. And in my comings and goings, I would always have to pass this bodega on the corner here, where there would be a group of Dominican young men hanging out. Well, as time would pass and my need to find some cannabis, some marijuana, I built a relationship. And I built a relationship with a young Dominican gentleman by the name of Kid Cuba. And so over time, just from me buying some marijuana from the man, we bonded a relationship. And again, his family owned the bodega. I lived 1 block away. So I've become a part of the community around here, right? So as time would go on and friends would come in from town to visit and want to hang out, and this was a different time in life, and sometimes some friends would want some yayo. And knowing my backstory, you guys, I know how to people plug or people potential plug. So it started off real small time, but real quickly I was able to figure out, oh, this boy here, although they hanging out on the corner, they tied into some real people. He would give me a small amount of yayo to do this and to do that. And as our relationship grew, you know how I be, fellas just kicking the game, and I'd be like, I got a brother. Now I'm speaking to Eddie, and I'm just telling him, I got a brother back home who's kind of deep into this business. Cuba starts saying, well, you know, Poppy, when your brother come to town, if he come to town doing business, I can help him out on whatever he's doing. So Eddie Jr. come to town this one time. I bring him around the corner. I introduce Eddie to Kid Cuba. Eddie and Cuba start doing business. They do 5-10 transactions together. And then on a side note, you've heard us tell the story about me, Eddie, and our dear friend that just departed, Craig 250 Johnson. This is where we had copped a brick right here, and this is a one-way street. 107 runs going west. But he's parked here. He takes a left here on a one-way, which causes the cops to pull us over. And this is the exact street where we got a brick in the car, cops pull us over. Eddie's talking about jumping out the car, running, throwing the brick in Central Park. 50 pleads with him, don't run. And he actually puts on his schoolboy look and uses all that parochial private school training, talks his way out of it. But one particular night, so Eddie now has 2 plugs here in New York. He's got Big Ed, the guy who owns the club Indigo Blues down on 44th and Broadway, and he's got Kid Cuba uptown. So, in this one kind of crazy night, Big Ed gets his Puerto Rican connection to come to our place in Brooklyn to test a key. Eddie wants to buy a brick. When they cook up the brick, or they cook up an ounce out the brick, so we know an ounce is 28 grams, right? Eddie cooks up an ounce out the brick. Soon as it's done cooking, he looks at it before we even weigh it. He like, oh, Ed, this is a problem, man. This shit only 15 grams. It ain't 28 grams. Ed like, man, it came back better than that. We weigh it. Eddie had called it to the gram. It wasn't 14.9. It wasn't 15.2. It was exactly 15. So now Eddie all upset. He like, man, I can't buy this shit. Ed like, man, I don't know what happened. Da-da-da, yada, yada. So the situation in Brooklyn falls apart. So Eddie got to get back to Detroit the next day. He like, Junior, let's just run up and see if we can catch your man, Kid Cuba. So we run up here. Cuba normally, they used to stash right down the street also on 107. So the office was kind of the bodega. They stash was right at Central Park West and 107. We get up here, Cuba's like, man, I ain't got nothing right now, Poppy. So Eddie like, ain't this a bitch? Shit didn't went south with Ed. You telling me your people out. What's plan C? So one of Cuba's mans is there. He cut into Eddie on the old whisper in the ear tip. He like, you look out for me, I'll take you to where Cuba get it from. Me, Eddie, Cuba, and his man roll up to 127th Street in Lenox. This is where we meet Crazy and Pablo, who of course are the guys who you've heard us tell the story. When we get there unannounced, they make me and Eddie go through this whole Santa Maria test. They got to talk to the candles, they got to talk to the steam mirrors. They think we the police or stick up man or something. They go through the whole ceremony with the Santa Maria thing, find we good guys. They serve Eddie. Eddie now got a relationship with Crazy and Pablo, who are the Colombians, who are the real Dundadas, right? So, of course, that would lead to eventually Eddie getting robbed when he breaks the rules, which Pablo and Crazy had told him, which was, Eddie, if we ain't here at 127th Street, do not do any business. Eddie breaks the rules, does deal with another guy at 127. They end up robbing big. He get robbed, has to come back home, money fucked up, cuts into my pops. The rest becomes what we know as the Pakistani Plug and the rest of French Road. But a lot of the product from right here at 107 used to end up on French Road. This was a good clique of Cubans, and it was, again, just one crazy night. It started off in Brooklyn. Deal went bad in Brooklyn. Because the deal went bad in Brooklyn, we end up catching up to Cuba. Cuba ends up introducing us to Crazy and Pablo, which good business is done. Then Eddie gets robbed dealing with Crazy and Pablo, which forces Eddie to cut into my old man for some help. At that same time, Pops has just got the Pakistani bag really up and rolling. Eddie starts getting that Pakistani bag. Next thing we know, French Road is doing $40,000, $50,000 a day with that work coming out of Pakistan. But yeah, just an NYC memory, family. One crazy night in the game. Deal goes bad in Brooklyn. Can't get the work we want right here at 107 in Manhattan. Shoot from 107 in Manhattan up to 127. Meet two crazy Colombians who got all the work. Business is done good for a while. Big Eddie ends up getting robbed there. Next thing we know, he's working back with the family, and French Road becomes the powerhouse that you guys can check out all that work we got done on the $100 million spot that me and Al Prophet and Lou did. So just more Detroit history, man. It was a crazy life back in those days. It's good to be back in the big city. But this neighborhood was good to us, man. This was a predominantly Dominican neighborhood, real family-orientated people, even though they was deeply involved in the game. Just some real good people. So shout out to the Dominican family here. Shout out to Kid Cuba and his crew. And so we're gonna keep filling you guys in on some of the rest of that one crazy night in the game. All that kind of went down with what was going on between that Detroit and New York connection. So holler at us. If you peep any of this on YouTube, make sure you guys are hitting that like, share, and subscribe button. Definitely a lot of this is gonna be only though available on the Patreon channel. So we're gonna thank you in advance for subscribing to our Patreon channel. So it's your man, CRB Jr., Big Boss Filmworks, on location live, 107 in Manhattan. Check us out on the Patreon channel. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Spotify. Motown Mafia Podcast. Big Boss Filmworks. Big Lou behind the camera. Your man, CRB Jr. Holla back. Shout out to Eddie Baby, Real True Street Crime. Shout out to Al Prophet. Shout out to Scott Bernstein. Make sure you guys are checking out that Blowing Money Fast. We got some stuff coming on that with the BMF situation. It's just all good. Looking for an interview. Let you guys know. If you're checking out Blowing Money Fast, or rather season 2 of BMF, check out that character K9 and episode 1 of season 2. The player K9, who the young Meech then hooked up with. We're gonna have access to the real man that character is represented and was based on. So we got a lot going on right now at Big Boss. It's going down in 2023. Check out, look forward to the year in review. We're gonna update you on all the shit that happened in 2022 that's now rolling over and going live in 2023. Hope the new year is treating the family good out there. So holla at your man, CRB Jr. signing out. 107 in Manhattan, Upper West Side of New York, South Harlem. Holla at your man. Peace.